Morning YouTube. The town you see behind me is Punta Arenas, the gateway to the Antarctic and our last stop down here in Chile. We have just arrived. It is around 7:30 in the morning, and in a moment we will be boarding the water shuttle to head into town, and we are going to take you guys along with us. So Punta Arenas is Chile's southernmost city here in Patagonia, and it sits right on the Magellan Straits, named for, of course, Ferdinand Magellan, who founded the route on his way to a early death in the Philippines, but his crew did manage to find their way all the way around the world, so I guess that's something. So we've made our way from the boat into Punta Arenas, here into the center of town, and to the park with the Magellan statue in honor of Ferdinand Magellan, which is right behind me. And we're going to go over there in a second. But right now there is a large tour group taking up most of the area around the statue, so I wanted to wait and kind of give it a second when there is less crowds. As I alluded to earlier, so Magellan made his way around the tip of South America back in the early 1500s, finding a path around the world. He unfortunately was killed in the Philippines a short time later, but his ship did make it all the way around. So the straits right across the water from here, the Straits of Magellan, are named for him, and on the other side, of course, is Antarctica. So this is the Antarctic zone. This is Chilean Patagonia, and this is Punta Arenas. So one thing I was a little curious about was on the monument here, as well as some other plaques and statues that I've seen, they refer to him as Hernando Magellan, whereas in the States we always call him Ferdinand Magellan. And what I had seen about him on the internet, he was referred to as Ferdinand as well. So I'm not sure what the reasoning for the difference in the name is. It's a little odd, but as far as public spaces go, public parks and squares that we have been to thus far on this South American trip, this is by far the nicest, the prettiest, the most well-kept, and the most scenic in general. In addition to this statue here, there is also a fountain right over here that is quite pretty. That is at the entrance to the park as you come in off the main road, and it is sort of flanked by this very large, very impressive looking tree here that has a really full canopy covering the whole front of the park. It's really, really cool. This is a nice fountain and just a nice area in general. Also, over this way, as you can see on the edge of the park, is a very interesting building as well. It looks a bit like an enclosed gazebo, and I think there might be a restaurant or a cafe on the inside. I'm going to get a little bit closer look here and see what is in fact inside. But this public square area down here in Punta Arenas is very, very nice. This is a place that if I was going to be here for any length of time, I would definitely spend some time relaxing and enjoying the scenery. So this is a tourist information office, and it is one of the nicest tourist information offices I can remember seeing. Quite an impressive building. My guess is that is not what it was always used for. In fact, right here is a plaque It was built in remembrance of the centennial of the Republic, 1810 to 1910. So this is also quite an old building, talking about over 114 years old. Beautiful structure here in the park, and looks to be in original condition and still being used today, which is very nice. And let's see what's over here on this end of the park. We have yet another monument. I have completely lost track of Hope. I have no idea where she is. Hopefully she can find her way back to the boat if we don't find each other. There are some really cool trees in this park too. They're really impressive. These trees right here, there's several of them. There's another one there and another one right there, and they are massive. I'm not certain as to what kind of trees they are. They're obviously evergreen trees. They have canopies that look a bit like cedar trees, but they are really impressive. They've trimmed them up so that the branches are higher, but they are some large old growth trees, that's for sure. Looks like there are also some little stalls set up here along the edge of the park for tourists and locals alike, I'm guessing. Let's go over here and take a look, see what we've got. See if any of them are open this early in the morning. Oh yeah, they are open. Got some interesting wares for sale. Let's see what we have here. Some cool magnets. A friend of mine had suggested that I buy a magnet every place I go now, and that might not be a bad idea. Maybe that is something that I could pick up and have as a sort of a keepsake for all of our travels. Something that I could get in each place and take home with me. So with the demise of Toys R Us and shopping malls in the United States, one thing that I have missed seeing and haven't seen in a long time is toy stores. And this one behind me is really something else. And the display in the front window here is immaculate. Really, really cool. Reminds me of my childhood and the good old days of the Sears catalog and going to Toys R Us and picking out whatever you wanted. Well, within reason, or whether or not your parents had any money that year, but still, that is a pretty cool thing to see and something I have not seen in quite a while. I think Hope and I have found in Patagonia our happy place as far as weather goes, because this is absolutely our dream. There's a pretty fountain right here, beautiful fountain, and another park. We're on our way to the cemetery right now, but man, the weather here is awesome. It is exactly what she and I love. It's probably about 50 degrees, 52 degrees, something like that. Very low humidity. There's a cool wind blowing. Some people might find this actually kind of chilly, but to us it's just absolutely great, and pretty long way to come to find it, you know. I think in the States you get weather like this maybe in, you know, San Francisco, a place like that, but it is just really, really wonderful. We are, as I said, making our way over to the cemetery, because apparently that's the thing to do here, is to go look at dead people. So that's what we're going to do. It is a National Historic Register place, and maybe even a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Maybe not. Maybe that sounds like nonsense. But regardless, it is a famous cemetery, and that is where we're headed. I can actually see the gates up ahead. It's a large concrete monument. So we'll be there in a few minutes, and we will pick up once we enter the cemetery. Okay, so we are inside the cemetery now. It is a $5 US entrance fee per person. And as I said, we've just entered, so we'll swing the camera around to give you a better view of one of the world's most beautiful cemeteries. Seems like an odd thing for a tourist destination, at least to me, but I guess there is some morbid fascination in it, so let's take a look. There are some large mausoleums here throughout the place. I can see that even as we enter.
Wow, it's so beautiful.
I guess if they will have to be someplace, this is someplace to be, right? The layout and the design of some of these mausoleums reminds me a bit of some of the cemeteries in New Orleans and places like that, with the raised crypts and the alleys and aisleways that go down in between. So this is pretty impressive. I'm sure these people had to have money to build a monument like that to themselves. Family de Jose Menendez. Some of these are almost as big as houses. Each one of the little alleyways here appears to have a name. This is Las Rosas, and each one of them has a little street sign. This person here is of Croatian heritage, I can tell because of the emblem there above the door. There we go, Hrvatska. So this person was Croatian, or the family was Croatian. So that means that there must be some Croatian heritage down here in this part of the world. This looks like a mariner's memorial here. They are quite impressive. Cemeteries are not really my thing. As I said, I think it's a little bit morbid, but you know, it is what it is. But something like this does make it look a bit more like art than anything else. This is on about 4 hectares of land here, so fairly large. The cemetery is actually full now. So they built another cemetery on the north end of town, and no one is being interred here at the moment. I assume, unless of course there is a family crypt that still has space in it. At that point, I think maybe that you could still be put here or buried here. But for the general public or for new burials, the place is no longer open. It is more like a museum to the dearly departed now, and a place for tourists to come and visit when they come to Patagonia and the Chilean Antarctic region. I suppose a cemetery is as good a place as any to become philosophical, and I was thinking about something yesterday when we were at the glacier. Actually, yesterday morning, as we were cruising by, I was reading Proust, and I know that seems like a terribly bougie thing to do, but one of the passages I was thinking about was where he says to be aware of everything and every moment, that the miracle is now. And I'm paraphrasing that, of course, but the point was, you know, in realizing where you are and counting your blessings, so to speak. But also, it made me think of other people who had been on a similar journey to us. We're sailing in an area where, like, for instance, Darwin traveled on the Beagle back in the day. And I have to think that at the time he must have thought that he was the pinnacle of modern man, sailing at that point. Just like we feel we are now. We're on a cruise ship, we got our cell phones and our cameras and our computers and everything else. But it made me think, what are the people who are going to be sailing those waters 150 years from now? What are they going to be like? And how are they going to be traveling? Are they even going to be traveling by ship? The Beagle was a ship, the Majestic Princess is a ship, but 150 years from now, are they hovering above the water in some sort of hovercraft, or, you know, floating above it in their personal flying vehicles? Who knows? I mean, who knows where we'll be in 150 years? We tend to think in the here and now of ourselves as these modern creatures, but everything is evolving constantly, and so it was an interesting thought to think of how people would be 150 years from now traveling those same waters that we're traveling now, sort of in the path of Darwin and others, Magellan as well, you know, even further back. It's a bit of a humbling thought, I think. And what better place than a cemetery to think such thoughts? I like to think that I'm at least as confident in my masculinity as the next man. One thing I will say is a sort of a funny observation here in Chile is the proximity of the urinals. They put them very, very close together here. I feel like I could tap for almost everybody who's next to me. It's a really strange quirk. I mean, and when I say they're close together, had there not been 6 people in there, I would have taken a picture. But I would say that the urinals are no more than 3 inches apart, and that is not an exaggeration. They are literally right next to one another. So if you are shy, or if you have a shy bladder, you may want to wait till the bathroom is emptied out a bit before you make your attempt, because otherwise you're definitely going to have an audience. So we have left the Sarah Braun Cemetery, and we are walking through the park that traverses the center here of Punta Arenas. on our way back towards the downtown area. Have to pick up a few items, some wet wipes and some serum for Hope's face. So we will be stopping by the pharmacy on the way back. And we're also going to stop by this really, really cute coffee shop that we saw on the way in. Now, we didn't stop when we were coming this way because it was super crowded. But we're hoping that as we go back downtown, it'll have thinned out a bit because we were right in the sort of breakfast hour at that point when we passed it earlier. Hopefully there'll be less people and we can go inside and maybe have a cup of coffee and a pastry, because it was a really, really charming looking place. And well, we could use a break right now. We've walked quite a bit. Actually, the cemetery was about a mile, 1.2 miles from the center square, which was probably another mile or so from the ocean front where the boat is moored and where the tender dropped us off. So we probably walked about 2.5 miles. By the time we walk back, it'll be close to 5 miles, and that'll be our exercise for the day. At that point, we will eat and most likely go to sleep. I didn't get much sleep last night, and neither did Hope, so we will see you when we arrive at the coffee shop. Put this under things you see on the side of the road in Patagonia. An alley full of flowers. That is pretty. Wonder if somebody planted these here. This can't be natural, I can't imagine. But it certainly is pretty inside of this iron gate. So earlier I alluded to the coolest coffee shop in Punta Arenas. And here it is. We're gonna go inside. Well, actually we're not gonna go inside. We're gonna stay outside, but we're gonna get some coffee and sit outside because it's less crowded. So the La Chocolata Cafe must be something of a landmark here in Punta Arenas, because tour groups and tour guides actually take people inside with the tour groups. So this must be a bit of a landmark here, and a place that is known, or at least has a bit of fame in the local area. So our cheesecake and coffee has arrived, and that is almost a whole cheesecake there. That is a large piece of cheesecake with passion fruit on it. And here we have our decaffeinated latte. All right, so that was it, YouTube. Our visit to Punta Arenas, the capital of Patagonia here in Chile. And you can see it there in the background. I'm back on the ship. And that was the best stop so far, I think. Punta Arenas was a really, really great town. We had a good time there. Had some great cheesecake and coffee, and saw some nice sights, and met some nice people, and definitely a place I'd recommend as well. This area is kind of a magical place, I think, way down here at the bottom of the world. So if you get the opportunity, I would absolutely recommend coming here. And we will see you next time from Ushuaia in Argentina in 2 days. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and any questions and comments, put them down in the bottom.